movie stars, rock and rolling through the cool guitars. Chuck's got the questions, digging so sharp, peeling back layers, hitting the heart.
I like your setup. That's nice. You got the piano and all sorts of cool stuff.
Yeah, this is the spot.
That's the... oh my God, look at all those guitars.
Yep.
Is that where you recorded this album?
I did most of the guitar stuff here, yeah. And this is where I do, like, if I'm doing any solos in the Black Label stuff, I do it from right here.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's what's so cool about music now is I know people hate it because everybody's got a band, everybody's got an album, everyone can be on Spotify, but it's so much cooler that you don't need to go, spend all this money in a fancy studio. You can do it all from home and it sounds better than a lot of the stuff recorded in the 70s and 80s, I think.
Yeah, I mean, I go into the studio for some things, and I mean, I'm set up here to do the same thing I would do in a studio with guitar as far as like preamps and mics and all that. So yeah, some of it I can do partly myself, Is there certain tricks that you have though, specifically to get some of the tones? Like some of the tones on this new record are really cool. Like I don't know how you discover that tone. I mean, you must have learned something from Zakk because he's got one of the coolest guitar tones of all time, I think. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you learn tricks along the way just from recording. But I mean, it's all starting with the guitar and the pickups and the amp and the cabinet and whatever pedals you have going. But, just the bare bones of the tone. But over time, I just realized like how much like a preamp influences that tone slightly or just adds to it, I should say. Same thing with like certain microphones that you're using to mic the cabinet, how much that adds to it and what preamps those microphones are going through. So, I mean, the tone is the tone, but that just kind of gives it some body underneath,
Yeah, but do you look at you must use different guitars and different amps and different preamps for different songs, and especially if you're getting like an older, more antique guitar versus like a newer guitar, and then there's all these things you can do with computers and technology. I mean, there's like the sky's the limit, right?
Sky is definitely the limit. For me, I'm just running a muscle car of amp, cabinet, and those mics into a preamp, and that's pretty much it. I mean, nothing gets too much change in the computer afterwards, but and yeah, I mean, like half this album I recorded a few years ago, and I was using my Les Paul, so I just continued with that guitar, and that's pretty much what recorded the whole album with a JCM 800 and a Marshall 412. Some of it was done with my PV 5150 cabinet actually, but nothing's really getting changed song by song. It's just, for me, it's just set up and go to the end,
Really interesting. So you don't switch up guitars for different songs?
Nope. On my instrumental albums that I did in the past, I would always use like two different guitars to layer like one rhythm on one side and the other rhythm on the other side. I would use two different guitars. That was just like in my head, like, oh, this one has different pickups. It's going to sound a little different. But this, I just used the same thing through the whole recording process.
Okay. Yeah, that's interesting. I like this album because, I mean, there's definitely a flow to it and a theme in terms of the sound, but there's a few surprises in there too. Like the song Dead Weight, it starts with a piano and you're like, oh, this is a cool piano intro. And then you keep waiting for it to like kick into like a heavy song and it never does, which I liked. I appreciate it. There's a piano throughout the entire song. And it's just a very sad song, very beautiful song. What is that? Again, we're talking about Dead Weight. I don't know if I said that.
Dead Weight, yep.
Yeah, this song. Is that one, what is that about exactly? Because it's very interesting.
Yeah, just about a particular time in life. It can kind of represent going through a change or however you might want to interpret it. But yeah, it's definitely, that one means a lot to me. That maybe means the most personally to me on the album. But yeah, I mean, I had that song for a little bit and I just loved that it was an intimate piano and one vocal. And I think that gets the point of the song out. Yeah, Dead Weight. That's if I were to point to one song in the album as far as like, oh, what's your voice sound like or a songwriting style, I would point to that one, even though the rest of the album around it's like heavy music or guitar driven, obviously, but that one's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, no, I know. It's just like the rest of it's awesome too. I love it. I love the guitars. Of course, your fans are gonna gravitate towards the guitar sounds. That's what you're known for. But that song, I mean, I felt like you were really like, I don't know what it's about. It's obviously personal, but it's I mean, it's felt like you're spilling your soul on that one. Like I felt it wasn't just like you weren't going through the motions at all. Like it was very I mean, I felt whatever the pain that you were feeling, it came across in the song.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I love that singer-songwriter style, and that's my favorite style to write. Like that on the album, and then Dark Waters, which is, I believe, in the order on the album. I think it's right after, if I remember correctly. But yeah, those two songs are, style-wise, I love writing in that style. So piano, I'm limited, so I just sit down and kind of whatever chord progressions I can come up with, I stick to that. I'm not Elton John, but I enjoy playing it.
Yeah, because the Dark Waters, and that's an acoustic. So again, that's still your Les Paul. I mean, it sounds like acoustic to me.
Oh yeah, that was an acoustic. I think I used one of my lag acoustics that I've had for a long time.
So what's interesting to me, like I'm a huge Warrant fan, and that's part of the reason I wanted to have you on. I was like, oh my God, this guy played with Jani Lane when you were 16, which is crazy to me. Did you, I don't know that, I know you did shows with him. Did you ever record, or did you ever write a song together? Did you ever see his process? Because I mean, to me, I think he's one of the very most underrated singer-songwriters. And I think you could have learned some great things by watching him.
Absolutely. So I just toured with him. I didn't do any recording with him, but we did write together at one of his houses in LA at one point. And there was something I was playing in the acoustic, and we kind of sat down together. And then there was this melody piece that I kind of had, and then he kind of was elaborating on, and he was saying, like, that's what writing's about. You know what I mean? Like, he was pointing to this one part in the song, just coming up with this melody that was behind the chord progression. That was really cool. But yeah, no, I definitely, you just absorb from being around it, just by playing those songs, because as you're learning them, you're kind of like absorbing the arrangement and the structure, and then everything kind of, you absorb it without realizing,
Whatever happened to that song that you recorded with Jani?
Nothing ever came to be of it. I think the riff actually was, I think one of those riffs were on my first instrumental album. I think the song was called Feels Good, and it might have been something that I was jamming around with him at that time. But yeah.
Did you learn, because I mean, like the song, back to that song Deadweight, like I said, that one just feels like you're pouring your soul out into the song. Is that something you kind of learned from Jani? Because that to me, if you listen to, I know people say, oh, hair metal, it's just all bubblegum pop and stuff. But no, if you listen to some of the ballads that Jani wrote, and especially some of the later albums that were not maybe as popular or whatever, like he really did pour his soul into some of that music. And yes, he's very good at catchy hooks and stuff too. But I feel like lyrically too, like he really is able to do that. Is that something that you kind of picked up from him maybe?
I don't know if I would point to it exactly. Like, oh, I picked it up, like just saying, like, you probably absorb more than you realize, and then it's coming back out. But all that feels natural to me. Like Deadweight just feels like a natural, process of writing and creating the music and singing the music. But yeah, Jani was such an amazing songwriter. And when you really listen to a lot of that stuff, like the song Stronger Now is such a beautiful song.
So underrated.
Yeah, I mean, he loved the Beatles, and so, his songwriting was incredible. So to be around that and playing from him, so there's a lot that kind of seeped in,
Yeah. Do you think it's partly too, because obviously he had his struggles as well. Do you think part of that is what made him such a good songwriter, that he was able to use that struggle and put it into the songwriting, similar to what you did with the song Deadweight? Because I also think another thing that reminds me of that is I'm a huge Guns N' Roses fan. And I just feel like if you learn about Axl's like upbringing and kind of what he went through, I mean, he did not have the greatest childhood, but then I feel like he channeled that into his music. And that's why those first few GNR albums to me are just brilliant. I mean, I even love the Use Your Illusion stuff.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, if somebody has a strong feeling about something, whatever that might be, whether it's positive or negative, and you're creating music, that's definitely gonna hopefully come out in that same kind of strong way,
Yeah, because you seem like a pretty mellow guy. Like for you to write that song, like it's song of Deadweight, you have to like tap in. Like I don't think I mean, unless maybe I don't know you very personally, but like you don't seem like the kind of guy that's up and like huge ups and huge downs, like maybe like Jani Lane was.
Yeah, I haven't hit those huge ups and huge downs yet. Who knows what'll happen, but
You know what I mean? Like if you have like a relatively normal childhood and life is pretty good. I mean, 16, you're getting a tour with a rock band. Like your life is pretty good. How do you go, okay, I got to write a song about something. I mean, I guess everybody has bad things happen to them too. So
yeah, everybody has those doors that, aren't opened for, just opened for your own self,
yeah, I think sometimes maybe that's too why sometimes the drugs help too. Some of the songs, some great songs are written with, on drugs or whatever.
Yeah, not for me, but I do enjoy a little wine or a little sip of a whiskey, but yeah.
Yeah. Because that's, I know like you toured with, obviously you're still in Black Label Society. That's still an active band, right? You guys have a show coming up in 2025, I think, right?
Yep, absolutely. Yeah, we're doing that Milwaukee Metal Fest coming up in May here this year.
Yeah, because Zakk, like, I know he went through a heavy drinking phase, and then he was like, they're like, if you drink anymore, you're going to die. And he's like, okay, I'm done. So, I mean, that must be interesting going from like Jani Lane, who was struggling with it, and then going to Black Label, where it's like Zakk doesn't drink at all.
Yeah, I mean, for me, it was never, I mean, I'm drinking casually here and there, so it doesn't, I mean, I don't drink before any shows or anything, so none of that was a thing for me,
Yeah. Well, so did you learn songwriting tricks and tips from Zakk Wylde? I mean, you guys must have written tons of songs over time in Black Label, or does he mostly write a lot of the songs and just have you guys play it?
Yeah, so that's definitely Zakk writing and then come in and put the parts on when needed. But yeah, I mean, same thing. You're absorbing it as you're learning it or playing it, or it's the same kind of idea. Yeah.
Yeah. How do you come up with those riffs? Like the song Hollow Smile. That's a fast paced, like heavy rocker, very catchy riff, very awesome guitar solo. But like, is that something that just comes to you, or do you kind of work it out and kind of tweak it as you go?
Most of the time, I mean, those riffs are either something I kind of had and been playing with, or it's like I'll sit down in the morning with a cup of coffee and whatever's like, okay, this is kind of sticking, and then I'll roll with it and start demoing it out and build it from there. That's pretty much how it is. Like Hollow Smiles like that, Afterglows like that. Same thing with We Are Remade. I mean, that's for the most part, that's kind of how it rolls. Whatever riff gets stuck with me in the morning, that morning I'm rolling with.
Yeah, I like that. And then like the song, I also love. I did get the lyrics, and it's hard for me to sometimes understand what people are saying. I have to like really listen. I'm like the Weird Al where he spoofs Nirvana. Like that would have been me. Like I probably didn't know what he was saying. But if you just even look at the song titles on here, like Gravestone to Humanity. Yeah. I love that you did stuff that was original. Like it's not, how there's some songs that like there's like 20 different versions of that song title. Like you didn't do a lot of that. A lot of these song titles are very original. But that song, Gravestone Humanity, especially, love the tone on that. Another very cool, heavy riff. I think your fans are really going to like that one.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite riffs, guitar playing wise, on the album. And a lot of the lyrics are either written from a personal standpoint, like Dead Weight or Dark Waters, and then I also like to try to do some creative writing approach where, like, that's more of a storytelling song where it's like about an apocalyptic time if the human race was actually like no longer, so that's kind of what the story of the song is about.
Yeah, that could be in our lifetime. You never know.
Yeah.
Things are going crazy the last few years. But what about the song? Another one that's like, it's a very slowed down, subdued, sad song. I think it's the last song on the album is a Bullet in Our Chamber. That sounds like, maybe almost sounds like somebody who maybe passed away or something. Like, I don't know. That was a sad one.
Yeah. That song is more so about like, I was using the quote like from Bukowski, like find what you love and let it kill you. And that's more what the song would be aimed towards, as far as like whatever you love so much, whether that's a relationship or anything. And it kills you in a sense. So that's what the song's about. And I had that song for a bit, and that was the last one that we recorded in the studio, because I was like, man, if we have I would love to include this song in the album, but let's see if we have enough time to get to it. And I think it was like 1 a.m. and it was like, all right, we were recording drums. Like, let's just put that in and see if we can get a take. And the drummer nailed it in one take. And that was that. It was like the song just magically came together. And I'm so glad I included it because it's one of my favorites on there.
Yeah, I just love the variety. Again, I mean, I mentioned I love that the GNR Use Your Illusions, and it kind of reminds me a little bit of that, how you've got the variety, you know? Like, I mean, I love AC/DC too, but like AC/DC, like every song kind of sounds similar, where you have some heavy songs and then you have piano and acoustic, and I love the mix. I think to me that makes an album interesting, and that's something that's I feel like is lost in music now. Is like we just have so many singles, people don't listen to the full album, and that's what's cool about this one is like it's really a journey if you listen to the full thing.
Awesome. Yeah, I feel the same way, and I really appreciate that because I mean I'm writing just like when I sit down to write, it's like whatever vibe I'm in that day, and I love all kinds of music. So you know, like the beginning of the album is you could call it heavy, but then it does go light into like Dead Weight and Dark Waters, but there's bluesy stuff on there, like All That Remains, and Bullet Not Chamber kind of has its own thing to it. So the album isn't just one thing. It has a few different vibes on it, which is kind of like if I have my music library now of stuff I'm demoing, it's the same feel of like one's over here, one's here. So that's just what I enjoy when I'm writing, you know?
Yeah. So do you still listen to new music? Cause you'd be surprised how many musicians I interview and they say like, oh, I don't listen to music. Like, I think it was a Joel Hoekstra. He was telling me like, yeah, I'll go to the gym and I don't listen to music. I'm like, what? How do you? He'd rather work out in silence. He's like, I hear so much music in my job. He's like, I want a break.
Yeah, no, I definitely still listen to music. I love listening to music. I mean, at times I do find myself driving around in dead silence, which maybe makes you out to be like a crazy person, but you're like driving, you know, normally you're cranking music.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm cranking music, but a lot of times I get in the car and I just don't have music on, but I'm definitely still listening to music when I'm working out or whatever. I do like instrumental lo-fi beat kind of stuff to have on in the background that has no lyrics. But I mean, I'm still listening to where my heart lies, like 70s, 80s guitar playing style, but that's like, you know, that's my root, that's my base, but I'm outside of all that. Like, I love Opeth, I love Motown, I love blues, funk, the singer-songwriter stuff. So I'm lately working out, I have yacht rock on. So I just love kind of whatever, you know?
I love yacht rock. I saw the show recently. It was Train. It was supposed to be REO Speedwagon, but they didn't play. But the opening band was Yacht Rock Review. Have you ever seen them?
No, I have not.
You would enjoy it. It's all yacht rock, but it's like it's almost like a Steel Panther of like yacht rock. It's like kind of like a little comedy, kind of dress up and stuff and joke around. It's fun. Like those songs live are really cool to hear like a cover band do. I feel like better than the originals in some ways, because some of the people that sang those songs are so much older now. It's hard for them to, you know, hit all the notes or whatever.
Yeah, totally. No, it's fun. It's just fun, cool, vibey, laid back music.
What kind of music? You mentioned a lot of different styles. Is there, in terms of like the singer-songwriter, like who is someone who's an influence that people might be surprised of?
Ray LaMontagne, I loved.
Who's that?
He's this cool, I don't even know what kind of style to call him. I'll say singer-songwriter, but he's just got a totally cool vibe. I love his voice. Ava Cassidy, this girl who has she plays acoustic guitar and sings beautifully.
Are these newer artists? I'm not familiar with them. Or are they older?
I don't know if I would necessarily call them newer, but I don't know their date where they started from. But of course, like the later Chris Cornell, like Higher Truth stuff, I love all that. So yeah.
Chris Cornell, yeah. See, again, that's one that's like, I feel like he was suffering inside, and then he just used that pain and put it into his music, and obviously made some amazing music.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. And I think that's what for a lot of people, their pain and like that art like helps other people who are suffering, and they listen to the music, and then it kind of like helps them get through a tough. I mean, do you ever hear those stories? Like, do fans ever come up to you and say like, hey, this song really, you know, helped me get through something? Or
definitely, I've heard that a lot about, you know, Zakk's Black Label stuff, just being out there and hearing people talk about that. Dark Chapel stuff's so new. So, but yeah.
I think it's going to though. I feel like, especially like those slower, darker songs like Bullet in Our Chamber and Dark Waters and Dead Weight. I feel like that's going to resonate with a lot of fans. I hope. I mean, it did for me. I really liked it.
Yeah, I hope the same.
Yeah. So yeah, I wanted to ask you too about going back to Jani Lane. That's part is so fascinating to me because you saw an ad on MySpace and then you got the gig at 16. What is that like? I mean, if it's almost like the movie Almost Famous, where he goes out on tour and he's just a kid. I mean, your parents let you go out on tour at 16, and were they worried?
They were pretty supportive. They were pretty behind me. I mean, yeah, I just, I was playing guitar since I was young, and that's all I thought about doing was like, I'm going to be a guitar player. That's just what I thought. So yeah, MySpace was big, and I saw an ad in the bulletin board that Jani was looking for a guitar player, and of course, being into like that 70s to 80s guitar playing rock stuff at the time, it was like, I was into all that. So I just sent an ad to this, or I sent an email to this ad that I saw, and then they ended up getting back to me and had me record some Warrant songs. Like I panned Warrant to one side and my guitar to the other, and I sent it off, and they were like, yeah, we'd love to have you come out to LA. And I met Jani in a rehearsal room, and he played drums because he was a phenomenal drummer, and he played drums and sang Warrant songs. Played like Uncle Tom's Cabin and a handful of others, and yeah, they were like, okay. A few weeks later we were out there, and I played with him for about 2 years, and I was 16, and I think I was in if I remember, I think I was in like 11th grade, but I was doing I was in a program called the Community College High School. So when I was I'm from Boston, but I was living out here in Vegas, in Nevada, and they had this program where you could do like half the day of high school and half the day of college classes. So I was doing that during that year, and then the end of that year is when this was happening with Jani. So I finished school. I got my, I did it all online as I was traveling and in between traveling. But yeah, my parents were behind me, and all those guys that were playing in the band, they were definitely like instant big brothers and took me under their wing, and it was all, it was a cool experience. So
that you were actually like, I mean, this was real tour, like on a bus, or would you guys have a van, or what was it?
I know we were in a van.
Okay.
And we were doing like Weekend Warriors, type stuff.
Oh, okay. So then do you sleep in the van, or did they get a hotel room, or?
We had hotel rooms, but we were also, I remember doing some, long night drives where you're sleeping in the van and getting to a room, and yeah.
Who else would remind me who was in the band at that time? It was you, Jani, and then who were the other three?
Yep. Jani, myself, and then at the time there was a drummer called Troy Patrick Farrell.
Oh yeah, I know Troy.
Yeah, awesome.
He's in Vegas.
Yeah, he just moved here. Well, I don't know how long he's been here, but I now see him kind of regularly, just out and about. But yeah, and then there was a bass player, Chad McDonald, and over the course of a couple of years there were changes, but Mike Fasano ended up playing drums shortly after I joined, and he's still like one of my brothers. And but yeah, it was amazing.
What was the biggest show you did when you were with Jani?
Oh man, that's really hard to remember. But we were touring with Great White at some point, and that was a cool summer. There was a lot of cool like amphitheater type shows we were doing, if my memory serves me correct. But yeah, maybe like I don't even know. I can't pinpoint one, but yeah.
Yeah, and then you joined Lizzie Borden for a few years, and then Black Label. Because then at some point, in like I think it was like right soon after you joined Black Label, you guys played Donington, the Download Festival. I mean, that must have been crazy to go. I mean, right? Like that was a huge jump, right? From Lizzie Borden and Jani Lane to playing Donington Park or whatever.
Yeah, I mean, definitely. Yeah. But like when I was playing with Lizzie, we were doing a lot of those, like Vakken, a lot of those big festivals, which were incredible. So yeah, it felt somewhat similar as far as, crowd wise, stage wise, but yeah.
Was there a point where you felt like throughout your career that you like, holy shit, like I've made it? Like, I mean, you opened for Ozzy in Mexico and you did a short run on Ozfest. Like, was that it? Was it the Download Festival? Was it just getting the first gig with Jani? Like, what was the point where you're like, holy shit, like I did it. I'm a guitar player.
You know what? To be honest with you, I never feel like that. I feel like every day is a new
Really?
day. Yeah, no, every day is a new day, and this is, you know, yeah, I'm just doing it. That's what it's about. You know what I mean?
Because even what about the cover of Guitar World? You and Zakk Wylde, like that's to me that would have been. I mean, I was a guitar player. I sucked, obviously, but I mean, I was a kid. And I remember reading those magazines. Like to see yourself on the cover of that must have been a little bit surreal.
Well, that was a huge highlight. That was absolutely amazing. Yeah, I could say I could point to that moment for sure.
Yeah, and I mean, like I said, Ozzy, and then you did the Kiss cruise with Kiss, and then two of my favorite guys, Sebastian Bach, Tracy Guns. I love that era of rock. Was that a fun cruise?
Oh, that cruise was a blast. The Kiss cruise.
Yeah.
I mean, all those cruises that they do musical, so much fun. Like Shipwrecked and like 70,000 Tons of Metal and the Kiss cruise, and we did the motorboat with Motorhead one year. They're all a blast.
I've never done any cruise, let alone a cruise with bands, but it sounds like so much fun. I feel like I gotta find a way to get on free because it's so expensive for the fans. It's like a few grand to do those.
If you got like the experience of it's amazing. So if you can get on one, it's like nothing else. It's like a floating festival. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's a blast. Everybody's on there having a good time, and yeah.
Do you go and watch all the other bands, or do you get kind of burned out on seeing all the music?
Oh, I'm hanging out the whole time. You have a blast. I mean, you're on the deck having drinks or whatever. It's a good time, you know?
Are you going to try to line something like that up for Dark Chapel?
Yeah, we're working on a ton of stuff now. So, yep.
There's no tour dates lined up for that band though, right? At the time?
No, we just did our first two shows opening for Zach Sabbath last week, New Orleans and Little Rock. And that was our first shows as Dark Chapel. And then we have our album release show coming up in March here in Vegas at Vamped, which we have Don Jameson, the comedian,
I
opening
love
up.
Don. I had him on the show. He's great.
Yeah, so that's going to be a good time. And
What is the date on that? When is that?
That is March 1st.
Okay, nice. Yeah, I go to Vegas sometimes, so maybe I'll be there, maybe I won't. But and then you have a show with Black Label Society, Milwaukee Metal Fest.
Yep, in May.
That'll be fun. And then is there going to be more music or shows with Black Label Society? Because it looks like Zakk is doing a lot of solo shows.
Yeah, there'll be a lot of stuff happening. I think next year we'll be rolling more with Black Label, but yeah, there'll be stuff coming for sure.
Oh, not till 2026 though?
Yep.
So kind of taking 2025, he's going to do solo and you're going to work on Dark Chapel?
Yeah, I mean, there might be some Black Label stuff that comes up. I know we have the Milwaukee Metal Fest, and then I'm just at the moment working on my Dark Chapel.
Do you think you'll try to get Dark Chapel like on a package thing? Like I know like with Black Label, you guys did a tour with Anthrax and Exodus. Would you try to get on something like that? Or do you like doing more headlining shows?
Oh, definitely. I'd love to get on something like that, which we're working on. Dark Chapel's just getting going, so we're working on all that now.
Very cool. Okay, well, I'll let you get going. Fans can they can hear two of the songs now on Spotify, and then I'm sorry, I forgot. Do we have a date on this? Release date. 2/28, February 28th. Is that right?
Yep, February 28th. The whole album comes out. The two singles are on, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Music. They're everywhere streaming right now. But the album comes out the 28th, and it'll be on all the streaming services. There's vinyl, there's CD, so there's physical. And yeah, I'm psyched for everybody to hear the whole album.
Yeah, no, I think people are gonna like it. I love, like I said, the whole journey. Will there be more singles released from now until the album, or was that just those two, and then now they gotta wait?
Yep, no, there'll be one more, I believe, and then coming up, and then yeah, there'll be more to follow. Yeah.
Very cool. Well, thank you so much for doing this. And anything else to promote?
That's it, man. Just darkchapelband.com. You can find everything there.
Okay, I'll put it in the show notes. Thanks so much.
Thank you, man. Appreciate
All
it.
right.
Good one.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Blowing your mind. Every topic, one of a kind. From the rockers to the wise men.